Well, here I am at my little table in front of this miserable cafe. If you wish to go in, there's the door. Put the money in the box. But I will have a word with you before you do. There's a cantina down the street. They serve rum. I'm a devout Muslim, but I would rather see you go there than to go in and hear this imbecile. Well, I can't stop you. Go in if you must.
Thanks for coming out on this very warm evening. I'd like to read a piece called Francine Kafka Takes a Bathroom Break. Now, I'm one of the few people who know anything about COBOL. Most of the people who knew anything about COBOL have either died or gone insane. I believe COBOL played a part in that, but that's another story. From time to time, I used to get contracts to fix old COBOL computers. COBOL is a computer language. So I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma to work on computers at the DEQ, the Department of Environmental Quality. They called me because their last programmer had run off into the night. The DEQ is right downtown at 700 North Robinson, just in case you visit Tulsa. I got to the DEQ and I found the senior administrator. Her name was Mary Kay Smith. I met her assistants and they were all very nice. We started to go over the system. At some point I excused myself and went to the bathroom. I get to the ladies' room and there's a card reader. I swipe my temporary DEQ card and the light stays red. After 6 more swipes, the light is still red. I go back to Mary Kay and tell her that my card did not let me into the bathroom. She explained that it has a separate card. Now, I thought that was somewhat strange, but this is Oklahoma after all. Mary Kay tells me that I need to get my card at the Health Sciences Center over on North Lindsay. Fine. It's a half mile, and it was getting on to lunchtime anyway. I decided to get a sandwich at the Denny's and use the bathroom there. I usually get a Super Bird with fries. Okay, I finally locate the Office of Personal ID on the 2nd floor of Health Sciences. It's at the end of a long linoleum corridor, painted lovely government buff with gray vinyl cove. I walk up to the counter and indicate that I need a bathroom card. And I bring out my driver's license. A nice lady named Marianne Morton informs me that, we don't use them here. I just need a drop of blood. We do a quick karyotype here. Now I'm starting to feel what Alice must have felt when she went through the looking glass. Normally I would have said, what the hell's going on here? But I was curious. I'd never before seen my karyotype. In case you're wondering, a karyotype is a picture of your chromosomes, all laid out in 23 nice little pairs. So Marianne took a drop of blood and was very sweet. She said it would just be about 15 minutes. So I sat down and read a copy of Family Circle. I'm not a fan of Family Circle. That's just all there was to read. Good to her word, she waved that my printout was ready. She told me to go to room B202, which is in the 2nd basement. Where she was sweet before, she now wore an expression like she had gotten baby shit under her new manicure. I took the printout and left. On the way, I looked at the bottom of the report and saw 46, XY. That explains the baby shit. Now, room B202 is down another nasty buff-colored corridor. It is the ID issuance office. I walk up to the counter and hand my paper over to Mary Ellen Dover. Mary Ellen Dover is very sweet, and she is also wearing a crucifix. I expected her to get some baby shit under her fingernails shortly after she reads my paper. So Mary Ellen reads down my paper and looks up at me and says, "Well, you're 46XY, and I cannot issue you a card for the ladies' bathroom." I was surprised. She was still being nice to me. She continued, "If you are 46XY, we have to issue you a card for the men's." I did a quick calculation. I was only on contract at the DEQ for maybe 2 weeks, and I figured I could work it out somehow. Maybe there's a bathroom in the basement nobody knows about. So this is what I told Mary Ellen. "Well, why don't you just issue me a card for the damn men's room and I'll wing it?" She said that would not do either. I asked her why not. If I'm 46XY, Oklahoma obviously considers me a man. Mary Ellen is still nice. She says that's perfectly true, but we are also mandated to protect public safety. She continues, "You would not be safe in the men's room. You're a woman." I said, "Well, then you can see that I have no business in the men's room." Mary Ellen looked at me with empathy and said, "Yes, I can see that, but I can't issue you a card either." She handed my paper back to me. Then she said, "Go on up to room 252. There's a chance they can help you." Well, I thanked her and left. She had been very kind. Back to the second floor, down another buff corridor. I arrive at ID imaging. Okay, so I hand my paper to a nice lady named Mary Jean Compton. She looks it over and asks me where I'd come from. I told her that Mary Ellen Dover had sent me here and that I was having difficulty getting any kind of bathroom card. She had a look of understanding. She said that an ultrasound might help. Now, if there was any doubt that we were through the looking glass, those doubts were now dispelled. Before I could think of too much to say, Mary Jean says, "Well, come on in here. This will just take a minute." Since they were not wanting to draw more blood, this seemed like a distinct improvement. I got on the table, and Mary Jean goops up my belly. She runs the ultrasound around for a couple of minutes and says, "Well, I can't help you." I asked her, "Well, why not?" She said, "You don't have any testicles in your abdomen." I asked, "Well, what does that have to do with anything?" She said, "If you had testicles, we could issue you a card to the ladies' room." I said, "Well, that makes sense." She went on to say, "There's a cutout in the new law that says people with AIS will be considered women in the eyes of the law." Now, I know a little bit about AIS. It's where a person has a mutation. Their body is 46XY male, but their cells do not respond to testosterone. They grow up as girls and often have male gonad tissue in their abdomens. Sometimes they get this tissue removed. I made the point that not all AIS girls still have the gonads in their abdomens. I pressed on and said, there are AIS girls whose testicles were removed, and they can get a bathroom card, and I have exactly the same number of testicles that they have, which is exactly 0. What about my card? Mary Jane looked at me from over her reading glasses. She said, "It makes all the difference in the world where the testicles that are no longer there are from. If you have non-existent testicles in your belly, then the state of Oklahoma does not consider you crazy. If you have non-existent testicles hanging between your legs, well, then you're nuts." I could see where this was going. I said, "I see." Mary Jean then recommended that I go to Edgar Chalmers in room B199. Perhaps he could help me. I thanked her and left with my paper. Room B199's door was open. I went in. There was Edgar. He smiled and asked what he could do for me. I handed him my paper and told him that I would be happy to get any kind of bathroom card at this point. He looked at my printout for a minute and said, "Oh yes, I can help. I've seen exactly your predicament, in fact, several times before." I sat down and said, "Well, I've been all over this building from one end to the other, and you're the first person who sounds like they can help." Edgar said, "Well, I'd be glad to help." Then Edgar sat very still and closed his eyes. He kept them closed. I must have watched this for about a minute. Then Edgar opened his eyes with a big smile, and this is what he said. Young man, only an abiding faith in our Lord Jesus Christ would cure you of this terrible affliction. So much for working in Oklahoma. Thank you.